Ladies and gentlemen, this is Italian Music Tribe, and today we are in New York with the new generation of the blues, Mr. King Solomon. Nice to
Hey,
meet
man.
you, King
Oh,
Solomon. How are you?
man, thank you so much for having me on your show. And it's a pleasure to be talking about the blues. From your profile pic to everything that you post on Instagram, man, I like the models, but also the BB Kings and the John Lee Hookers that you post too, man. You post a lot of fine stuff.
Why this name? Why? Because King Solomon is a very important name in the history. The temple of King Solomon, the ring of King Solomon. Uh,
Yes,
I want to know
that.
this.
Well, I have to say that is the one question everybody asks. It's like, man, so where did you come up with the name King? And my actual name is Solomon Hicks. That's my true name. But the King came around. I was playing at a very important club in New York City called the Cotton Club, and they were trying to figure out my stage name. And they were like, "Oh, is he Prince? Should we give him something totally different?" And somebody in the back was like, "Hey, no, he's not a prince. He's a king." And this was when I was like 13 years old. I was already starting to play around the clubs and the scene in New York. And the reason why I continue with the name King, I say my friends call me Solomon. So, brother, your friends, make sure you call me Solomon when I see you live. But for the stage name for King Solomon Hicks, I like to give tribute to the three kings, BB, Albert, and Freddie King. So when people hear my name, they go back to the history. And it gives me a chance to talk about them. And even you see the cardboard cutout. It's me in a white suit when I was like, you know, again, I was like 13, 14, Cotton Club days. And I just like to carry on the style of like when you see John Lee Hookers and the BB Kings always in, the suits. I didn't wear a bow tie today, trying to be relaxed. But the ties, it's a part of the culture and the whole, the show and the presentation. Not talking down on people that want to dress how they feel and who they are, and love dungarees and Converse, and I wear my hoodies too when it gets cold. But it's for the show, King Solomon Hicks. It's about the music, the look. It's like being at a party or kind of one of those cool '60s or during the '70s when you go to a nightclub and everybody, you even how you got the shirt, man. You look cool. But that's kind of the reason why I stuck with the name King.
Can you tell me something about your story when you meet with the blues for the first time?
My dad worked, and my mom was the one that took me to all the different clubs like the Lennox Lounge, St. Nick's Pub, where Miles Davis, Thelonious Monk, people like Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, Chet Baker, trumpet, where they would own their chills, their skills, and get their chops up. And being around the musicians in New York really shaped me for the type of intensity and this kind of the longevity that I wanted to have in music. Because when you're around so many great players, we have Lincoln Center here, the top jazz clubs, the New School, Manhattan School of Music, Dizzy's Club, Ch- places where Charlie Parker used to play. There's a lot of good, just guitar players and world-class musicians that travel from other places to come to New York. So growing up in that melting pot of musicians and different cultures, it really gave me ideas and views. Okay, this is Latin American music. Okay, this is salsa. Okay, this is rock and roll. These are the pop, Bruno Mars, Post Malone, Kendrick Lamar type things. But then, ever since I was a kid, my mom collected music. She has thousands on thousands of different albums. And she kind of introduced me to jazz. And she knew a little bit about guitar, a little bit about rock and roll. I remember her giving me Jimi Hendrix CD. She loved Santana, you know, some of the top. And I remember we went to a record store, and she let me buy a Freddie King album. And I remember the name of
Your
the album.
first blues album is Freddie King.
Freddie King, Burglar.
Wow.
Burglar, with the guitar on the front.
Cannibal Texas. Cannibal Texas. For me, I'm tore down. I'm almost level with the ground. I'm going down. I'm going down, 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 down. Boop, 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 boop. Unbelievable.
Man, from touring down to going down. But it's when I was at that age, I didn't understand. I always felt it, but I was around so many jazz musicians that I heard it, but it went over my head. I didn't internalize it when I was like, well, I started playing guitar when I was 6 years old, and listening to music and just having different teachers. I heard it, but I couldn't get that feeling. It wasn't who I was. My mom, I say that she plays many different styles of music, in the car, on the radio, and I say it was eclectic from like Nas to Nina Simone to BB King. There's a lot of hip hop stuff I like, more of the old school things, and hip hop and rap and trap evolved later on within the years. But I've always been attracted to anything with heavy drums, really rock and bass. And as I got older, I found that I've always loved jazz because I was always my growing up, and those were the musicians that I was around. But
Your
it's not.
favorite artist of the jazz?
Ooh, good question. I always say my top two: Wes Montgomery, Joe Pass. For if I had to be in that style of playing, but
My
for the
my favorite is Nat King Cole, the best.
oh, piano. Oh,
Wow, I love him. I love him. His style. If one from Chicago to LA, traveling 2,000 miles all the way, when your kicks on Route 66, there you go. Da, 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 da. Wow, wow. I love,
those were the
I
type of
love.
musicians that I was around. Nat King Cole is this being past Christmas. Always like how he sings the Christmas song, but anything that Nat King. But that's how I kind of got my my ear. When I hear like George Benson or Grant Green, those are the type of players I was around. But now being older and having traveled to places like Memphis and Texas, I haven't been to Chicago yet or Detroit, but just Memphis and even going down to Mississippi and Clarksdale, you really hear. I'm a fan of that blues. That's some very when I hear modern players like Marcus King or Kingfish, or I'm a big fan of Selwyn Birchwood. There's players today that I like, Bobby Rush, who's still Buddy Guy, Walter Trout. Yeah,
Look at
some of the
this style, body guy style. You know,
like
I love body guy.
New York is great, but we don't get musicians like Buddy Guy. And also, he's for somebody who's been around, who's played with Junior Wells and has that much history. I mean, the pictures with him and Stevie Ray Vaughan together, and just to grow up in that, it's I love jazz, but blues is what really hits me in the heart. And I find the best jazz has some blues, and the best blues has some jazz. And with the new record that I just put out this past March, it's a mixture of all those things, but it's mainly steeped in the blues and rock and roll. And we try to give tribute to the Eric Claptons and the Three Kings. And you hear a little bit. And I stepped out of just being in the jazz world and kind of stepping into the blues world, but with my own take on it. I say that for everybody that's been playing the blues, it's evolved since the Robert Johnsons and the Lockwoods and some of those. When I think of like Muddy Waters and Howlin' Wolf, that our
My
gener-
idol, Muddy Waters,
you know
the Hoochie Coochie Man, the
Gucci
Hoochie Coochie Man.
and all it's
Be- Because
it's
I've got the mojo working, and I'm a Hoochie Coochie Man. So
Mojo Mojo.
is your favorite white blues artist?
I would definitely have to say Clapton. Clapton all the
Clapton.
way. Clapton.
For me, Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter
Ooh.
always.
Oh,
Johnny Winter.
Highway
Ah,
61.
yeah. Johnny Winter and his song "Come on, little schoolgirl, come on, little schoolgirl, can I go on with?" His voice,
Oh,
incredible voice, with this white
yeah.
hair. Mm,
There's a song that
incredible.
I think it's that rock blast or rock blast or something. and he's playing My Susie Q. Johnny Winter.
My Suzy Q, oh Suzy Q, oh Suzy Q, maybe I love you, my Suzy Q.
But
Fantastic. Creedence Clearwater Revival.
oh, man, well, what I love, not only Johnny Winter, but I like how Edgar Winter sings. And this he had something very special and unique with his voice. But just the two brothers together, Johnny and Edgar. But Johnny, his guitar playing, there's a lot of guitar players today that I hear that try to get that attitude. And, between, the Johnny Winters, the Stevie Ray Vaughan, and Eric Clapton, there's a lot of.
About your latest work, I think it's one of the best album in the last 10 years in the blues. I think. I
That's
think.
a very high compliment. Thank you.
I want to know every single thing of this album. Every single thing.
Oh, I have to say, it's a big collection of listening to the Michael Bloomfields, the B.B. Kings and Albert Kings, the Eric Claptons, and so on and so forth, and going into this album that self-proclaimed Harlem. I named it Harlem because that's where pretty much I got my start. And Harlem has such a cultural significance with music, and this is how all the different musicians that passed through there, blues and jazz. And I wouldn't call it a blues album per se, where it's like there's some traditional blues albums that it's just straight. You hear the shuffles, and it's very either Chicago based, Memphis, or or Texas, following that blues trail, where I was able to work with a great producer. His name's Kirkiano, and we're able to get different sound effects like on
With which artist not longer alive would you like to work? And which song would you like to play with him?
ooh, that is a good question. Uh, you know, a generic answer would my first one would be Albert King, and I would love to play Pretty Woman or Born Under a
Oh,
Bad
pretty
Sky.
woman, she's the rising sun, says all you keep and power at gone. Help you know she pretty woman right down. I love his guitar. I want to buy his guitar. I
The
want
Flying
his
V.
guitar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. Thank you for this blues lesson. I hope to see you soon in Italy.
So
Bye
when
bye
we're
from
in a better
Italy.
place, be